I never imagined that after 20 years of raising my children, sacrificing everything, that I would be completely cut out of my own daughter's wedding. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just did one thing, and the entire wedding collapsed. My name is Elise Grant, and this is how a quiet mother acted and made the whole world shout. Before we begin, leave a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. And if you've ever been hurt deeply by your own family, hit subscribe, because this story is for you. My name is Elise Grant. I'm 60 years old, a widow. I live in a quiet coastal town in Maine. I worked as an office manager at an auditing firm for 21 years, not glamorous but stable. I used to tell my children I can't give you everything, but I'll do my best so that you never feel like you lack anything. And I kept that promise. I have two children, Natalie. My eldest is 33 years old, currently working in media in Boston. And Ben, 30, he's a mechanical engineer recently engaged. I put everything on hold: vacations, even my youth, to make up for the father they lost too early. But I never once complained, until last Monday morning. An email. No subject line. Just the sender's name, Natalie Grant. I smiled as I opened it, thinking maybe she sent a photo of her dress or a story about cake tasting the day before. We'd just spoken a few weeks ago when I wired her $35,000 to help her book the venue, hire the live band, and print the invitations. But the moment I read the first line, my smile disappeared. Elise, no mom. No dear mom. Just Elise. Natalie wrote that she and her fiancé Thomas had finalized the guest list with his family. After much consideration, they felt it would be best if I did not attend the ceremony in person. The reason: Thomas's mother wanted to keep the atmosphere intimate and avoid any unnecessary tension. You can join via Zoom. We've prepared a link. It's almost like being there. LOL. I stared at the screen. The cup of chamomile tea next to me had gone cold. I didn't shake. I didn't cry. There was only one feeling. As if the ground beneath me cracked open, but I was still standing. I replied with just 4 words. Okay. I wish you happiness. No arguments, no rage, just a quiet withdrawal with eyes wide open. Driving to the office that morning, the April skies over Maine still held a chill, but I didn't feel a thing. My mind repeated one question over and over again. How did we get here? I still remember it clearly. The night my husband James died suddenly of a heart attack. Ben was only 14. Natalie was prepping for her college entrance exams. I stood in the kitchen wiping away tears while comparing the electric bill to the cost of Natalie's tutoring. I clenched my jaw, picked up extra shifts, skipped my own birthday, missed Christmas dinner. There were nights I slept at my desk after my third back-to-back shift, too exhausted to drive home. I always told myself there will be time for me later, but that later never really came. Natalie changed her major twice. I paid the extra tuition. When she decided to move from Boston to Chicago for a vague startup job, I paid her security deposit and bought her plane ticket. When she ended a 5-year relationship, I took 3 days off, flew across the country, just to hold her while she cried on the hardwood floor of her unfamiliar apartment. And this time, I'd wired $35,000 for her wedding. I never kept a ledger, because mothers don't keep score, right? But that Monday morning, I realized something. To Natalie, I wasn't her mother anymore. I was a line item, an expired investment. At the office, I sat at my desk like any other day. Robert, my boss, walked over holding 2 lattes from the cafe on the corner. You look like you've seen a ghost, Elise. I just didn't sleep much. I smiled, hiding the storm inside me. He didn't press, didn't pry, just placed the coffee gently beside me. And in that small act of kindness, I nearly broke down. Not from pain, but because for the first time in days I felt seen. I felt like I still mattered. After work, I didn't go home. Instead, I drove to Rockridge First Bank, the same place where I'd opened college savings accounts for both Natalie and Ben years ago. Carlos, the branch manager, always remembered my name, always asked about my kids like they were part of the bank family. Mrs. Grant, great to see you again. What can I help you with today? I sat down, placed my purse on the chair beside me. I'd like to cancel a transfer. Which one? The $35,000 to the venue in Boston. Carlos blinked, then tapped something into his computer. Well, lucky day for you. The transaction hasn't cleared yet. Are you sure that's a significant amount? I smiled, soft as wind brushing through leaves. I'm sure. When I got home, I saw 9 missed calls from Natalie, 3 from Ben, 1 voicemail from Natalie. Mom, please don't do this. I turned off my phone. In the kitchen, I opened a bottle of red wine I'd been saving for Thanksgiving. The same one Natalie promised to come home for, then canceled last minute, because of a quarter-end report. I poured myself a glass, sat on the porch, watched the golden light of evening fade. No anger, just stillness and memory. I thought about birthdays that no one celebrated. Valentine's Day was spent eating instant noodles after a double shift so I could pay tuition. The gifts I never bought for myself, because Natalie needed a new laptop, Ben needed car repairs. The old Toyota I'd driven for 14 years, always putting off buying something new, because someone else always needed the money more. And now Clarice, Thomas's mother, a stranger, had the power to decide who was worthy of being present at my own daughter's wedding, almost like being there. LOL. I replayed that sentence in my head, and all I felt was cold. Around 9 p.m., the doorbell rang. I hesitated, then got up to answer. It was Ben, tie crooked sleeves rolled, face pale. Mom, Natalie is freaking out. You're not answering her calls, her texts. I told her you were mad, but this is too much. I stepped aside. Come in, you're shivering. Ben stood in the middle of the living room, voice quick, panicked. They need the money, Mom. The venue deposit, the band, the cake. Everything depends on you. I let out a soft, almost bitter laugh. So I'm not good enough to attend, but still good enough to pay. Ben hesitated, then admitted the truth. Clarice and her family are covering most of the costs. You know how traditional they are. I lifted my wine glass slowly. Traditional, I already sent $35,000. I was planning to send another $35,000. That's $70,000 in total. What tradition is that, Ben? Bank of Mom and Dad? Ben went quiet, frozen. Mom, I didn't know you were sending more. Well, I said flatly, I'm not anymore. Ben threw up his hands, frustrated. You always make everything a big deal. Always the victim in every situation. I stood up. Set my wine glass down gently. Leave, Ben. What I said, leave my house. My voice wasn't raised. It didn't tremble. It was calm. Certain. Like a door that had been half shut for decades, it finally sealed with a click. Ben paused for a moment, then walked out. The door closed quietly behind him. But the sound it left behind echoed deeper than any argument we'd had in 30 years. I stood there in the stillness, and I realized something. I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. The next morning, I woke up at 5:30 like always. No alarm, no email chime, my phone was still off. When I finally turned it back on, there were 47 missed calls from Natalie. Dozens of texts. Mom, how could you do this to me? You're causing chaos in the family. Clarice wants to cancel the wedding. They say you're being impossible. Please, Mom. And at 3:18 a.m., you're ruining the most important day of my life. I took a sip of coffee. I didn't feel anger, only clarity. While reviewing an insurance contract at work, I saw an email pop up. Subject: Please don't ruin my wedding, Mom. I know you're upset about the live stream, but this is too much. We've lost the venue deposit. The caterer is backing out. Clarissa's mom is furious. They're blaming you. We're willing to talk to let you attend, but first we need you to finish the payment you promised. I read every word, no pain, no surprise. Because now I knew real love doesn't come with terms and conditions. And people who truly care about you don't wait until they need money to offer you a seat at the table. I closed the email and returned to my work. Natalie never realized the comfort and stability she enjoyed didn't just appear out of thin air. It was built on the back of every moment I said no to myself. Robert, my boss, stopped by my desk around noon. Lunch, he asked. New Italian place just opened. I almost declined like I always do. But this time, something stopped me. I smiled. I'd love to. Lunch was simple: fresh pasta, sparkling water, and stories about Robert's grandkids. When I told him the whole story, Natalie's cold email the money I was expected to hand over as if it were nothing. He didn't interrupt, didn't rush to fix it. He just listened. Then he said something I'll never forget. Sometimes the strongest form of love is setting a boundary, especially with the people we love most. He placed his hand over mine, gentle and sure. I think you did the right thing. And for the first time in years, I believed it. Driving home that evening, the skies over Maine had shifted to a soft silver gray. The porch light flicked on automatically like always, but something felt different. A young woman was sitting on the steps outside my house. She twisted the hem of her shirt, eyes full of hesitation. Before I could speak, she stood up. Mrs. Grant. I'm Alice. My name might not ring a bell, but I used to be Natalie's best friend. Back in middle school, I used to stay over, remember baking cookies, watching movies. I nodded gently. Alice had her messy brown hair, her nervous smile. I remembered. I'm sorry for showing up unannounced. That's all right. Come in. I was just about to make tea. In the kitchen, Alice looked around like she was walking through a living memory. Still smells like lavender, just like it did back then. I smiled, pouring boiling water into my porcelain teapot. Natalie sent you, didn't she? Alice paused, then nodded slowly. She's spiraling. They've lost the venue. Her mother-in-law wants to cancel the wedding, but I'm not here to beg you for money. I came to ask, is there anything Natalie can do to change your mind? I said nothing. The silence stretched so long the tea started to cool. Is there an apology strong enough to erase the feeling of being erased from your own child's wedding? Is there an act powerful enough to undo years of being treated like a walking ATM? Alice lowered her head. No, I said softly. Because when someone truly loves you, they don't wait until you walk away to care. Alice nodded slowly. Maybe Natalie won't get it, but I do. I handed her a cup of tea. We sat side by side, one woman who'd lived through 3 decades of silent sacrifice. One is just beginning to find her voice. There are limits we set, I said, not to push people away, but to hold on to ourselves. Loving someone doesn't mean you erase yourself, and forgiveness doesn't mean you keep allowing the same hurt. Alice squeezed my hand gently before standing. Thank you for teaching me the lesson Natalie never learned. I hope someday she understands too. I nodded. The door closed behind Alice softly. But this time, I didn't feel alone. I felt like I had finally closed the door on an older version of myself, the mother who always forgot to remember her worth. Natalie's wedding didn't happen the way she'd planned. According to Ben, they pulled together a rushed backyard ceremony at Thomas's house. A few relatives, no photographer, no live band, no me. And for once, I didn't want to be there. Weeks later, Natalie sent me a long email. A flood of explanations, justifications, deflections. I read it once, didn't reply, just archived it. These days I wake up in the morning without checking who needs something from me. I don't live by anyone else's calendar. I've started reading novels again. I signed up for a pottery class at the town library. I share dinners with friends who like me for who I am, not for what I give. And I made a new rule for myself. If my presence is negotiable, then so is my effort. I used to believe that if I was patient enough, generous enough, eventually my children would understand. But the truth is, not all love is met with gratitude. Natalie didn't apologize. She explained. As if my feelings were something to be addressed, not honored. I'm no longer angry. I'm not even relieved. I've just accepted this. Motherhood is not a lifetime contract. Loving someone doesn't mean staying, when staying means losing who you are. That night, I opened an old box from the back of my closet. Inside were birthday cards Natalie wrote when she was little. I love you more than anything, Mom. You're my best friend in the whole world. I read each one, my hands trembling just a little. Then I placed them back in the box, closed the lid. Not because I stopped loving her, but because I've loved her enough. Have you ever had to walk away? Not because you stopped loving someone, but because you had loved them for so long, so deeply, that you lose yourself in the process. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story touched you, please hit like and subscribe. to follow our journey through stories of family healing and the path to finding yourself again. Thank you for being here with me. And remember, sometimes staying isn't love. Sometimes walking away is the deepest love of all.